Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross-stitch, mostly cross-stitch, and a handful of other things today. It's the end of March, and so I'm doing my kind of quarterly check-in just to show you what I've been working on over the past 3 months. It's been a long 3 months. This has been a 3 months that's felt like we've lived kind of a whole year in this 3 months. So luckily there's been a lot of stitching and crafting to help keep me company during this time. So I can't wait to share it with you, and I think we're just gonna get right into it if that's okay. Things are going okay. School's great. I'm on spring break, which allows me the time right now to talk with you, and I hope you've been hanging in there too, and can't wait to check in with all of you too and to hear from you too. Okay, so we are gonna go way back in time. I had some finishes back in December when I last spoke to you that I couldn't show you because they were going to be gifts for some people, and now they've all been gifted. So what I will do is put up some pictures here to show you what I worked on. The first two were birthday presents for my friends Maryam and Julie. Maryam is Marumi Crafts. Julie is Julie and Stitches. They both had big birthdays earlier this year. And so Julie's they were both so fun to work on, but Julie's one was a tribute to her and all of her funny phrases that she uses during her Flosstubes. And that was one of the first things I noticed, because Julie, her Flosstube was recommended to me by Maryam, and so when I started watching Julie, she had already done a bunch of videos, so I started on not her first video, and she had all these kooky kind of fun expressions, and she was just so lovely and delightful, and provided a nice sense of humor, and I just loved it. So I kind of kept a mental note of some of her fun phrases, and then as I got to know her, I kind of continued to make mental notes on some things. So I'm like, this is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna stitch a little sampler of her little phrases. And the pattern, the little borders on the pattern come from let me think for a second. They come from a pattern that I picked up at a stash resale through my guild, through the Embroiderers Guild. No, it was actually another, like a needlepoint guild. There was a member who passed away, and they were selling her stash to raise money for that guild. And so I picked up a pattern by Told in the Garden, or Told in a Garden. I think that's the designer. It's a designer I've come across at these stash sales. I don't know if they're a current designer, or if they're an older designer. Anyway, it was a little sampler, and it had pretty borders in it, and then some other kind of samplery motifs. So I picked that up, and I thought, oh, these would be I'll kind of put in a couple borders and then start stitching Julie's phrases. The typeface probably is a Lord Libidan. I don't actually remember, but I use a lot of the free fonts from the Lord Libidan website, so I think that's probably what it is. And I just used some colors from Stash, and I put that together. That was good fun to stitch on. And then there's a border in there that's really beautiful. It's got like it's the scroll kind of border, and it has 2 colors in it. That was just so pretty. I want to reuse it for something else. It looks that the 2 tones kind of piled up on each other look really, the way it's layered looks really nice. So, okay, so that was for Julie. And then for Maryam, both Julie and Maryam are doing this spot sampler stitch along for their birthdays. So spot your number, Sal, I think is what it is. So the number is their age that they turned. So 40 and 50. So Maryam's doing a spot sampler with 40 motifs from 40 different patterns. One motif from each one, then she's going to give away all those patterns. And Julie's doing the same thing with 50. And I thought, oh, maybe I could do for Maryam like a little spot sampler to kind of acknowledge that that's her big sal for this year. And I thought, won't it be fun if all the spots from the spot sampler come from her own patterns? Kind of like a mashup of all her patterns. And so it started to become this kind of idea where I was picturing, what if Maryam's little critters from all her patterns were kind of hiding and popping out to surprise her for her birthday? So that's what I did. I kind of put little pops of them For some of them, I just put like part of their faces, not their whole faces, and just kind of looked like they were peeking out from places. And then put in, you know, Maryam does all these beautiful borders and medallions in her pieces, so I put in some of those too. That was really, really fun to stitch, that one. I kind of want to make another one because it was so fun to do. But anyway, those, I couldn't show you those in December, so you got to peek at those now. And then the other one, I'll put in a picture as well. I was able to visit with the Amy Graham over winter break, and I can't, it's been so long now, but Amy, it was such a good day. You know how so many of us who've been on Flosstube kind of meet our kindred spirits through this. We just like people who we totally connect with and get us, and Amy is one. Amy is one of them. So I was so happy to meet her, and I made her a little pillow, and Amy, it's to this day an embarrassing pillow for me because here's what happened. I've made pillows before. I don't know where my mind was, but I was cleaning out. This is a longish story. Sorry. I was cleaning out my stash, and I found a bag of those like crushed walnut pieces that you can stuff pillows with, you know. And I had been in a Zoom around the same time while I was tidying up. I was on a Zoom with some people, and I just said in the group, Stitchy people, and I said, you know, I got this bag of walnut shells. I kind of want to use it to stuff a pillow, but I don't know if you can, like, are there any special tricks to using it or what? And the lovely Helen, Ditty Stitcher, was on that Zoom. And she gave me all the tips. She gave me exactly what to do. You know, stitch around, stitch from the bottom going up, stitch up the both sides, just leave a little opening and stuff it through the top. She gave me everything I needed. It was a great little set of tips. So then I sat down to stitch the pillow. It's a freebie by the Workbasket, by the way. It's Acorn, Quaker Acorn by the Workbasket. And so I sat down to stitch the pillow, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. So I followed the directions. And then as I got to the top on both sides, I changed my mind, and I thought, oh no, actually I have this bag of orts from stitching and from my yarn work, from like crochet. I had a bag of orts saved up, and I told myself I was going to use that to stuff the next pillow I make. And this was so small, I thought, okay, this is perfect. And while I was thinking through all this, I totally did not like come up either of the top corners and sew those in before stuffing it. I just left the entire top open. I put all the stuffing in, and then I just sewed like a straight thing across the top, a seam across the top. And I was like, oh, this pillow looks kind of funny, but I didn't even think twice about it. And then as I was giving it to Amy, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what's wrong. The corner, like I didn't go around when it was still inside out. I didn't do the corner. So Amy, it's still an embarrassment for me today, and you're still on my gift stitching list. I will get you something nicer at some point. Even if you don't want it, you're going to get one. Because that was just so horrible to have to gift something like that. But the day I spent with Amy was delightful. We got coffee, and then we just kind of hung out the whole day. Coffee shop closed. We actually had coffee at a really great place. This was in Oklahoma City, kind of like Sip of Hope here in Chicago, where the proceeds go towards mental health supports for the community. Amy will remember. I don't remember what the place is, but it was really nice coffee shop. And their front room had huge windows, so just fantastic light for stitching. It was such a nice spot, and a wonderful day spent with Amy. That was a very precious day to me. So, okay, so you saw my gift finishes. Did I have any other gift finishes? No. Bear with me a second. I want to mark these off so I know I'm telling you about everything I want to tell you about. Okay, Amy. Okay, a little bit of stitchy kindness that I want to share too. And then we'll do some more finishes. So, big thank you to Maryam. Maryam sent me a project bag with the Golden Girls on it. A little friendship bag, and I'm using that now for a couple of new starts. And she had some little goodies in there too. So love you, Maryam. Thank you so much. That was so nice. And then, darn, I didn't bring it with me. I won a raffle that was offered through Marjaan on Instagram and Arab Beans. Darn it. You know what? I'm going to go get I want to show you what I won in that raffle. Be right back. Okay, so back in January, I think, there is a Tetris stitcher named Marjaan who, with another kind of user named Arab Beans, was raising money for a family, you know, basically to provide food, housing, medical support to a family in Gaza. And they were raffling off a number of items. And if you donated $10, you could like have a ticket put in for the raffle. And I won the raffle. And I think the gift items were so generous. It was like a little package of all of these stitched items. So I couldn't find all of it upstairs, but I brought you two things to show you. One is this little strawberry kitty, who is just the cutest little kitty. And it's made with this like very soft yarn, so it's very squishy and so cute. So this little buddy, I have at school at my on my desk at work, or kind of next to my desk at work, I have this basket of all of these crocheted critters that my students have made for me. We have tons of crocheters at school. They're always making stuff. So I've got like little dinosaur and a bunny and a dog, all kinds of stuff. And so I think this is going to join. This little buddy will join that one. And so cute. Look at like the little green on the top. And all the strawberry spots. So that was so cute. And then if that wasn't enough, there was, I don't have it with me, but there was a beautiful bracelet that had medallions on it that were each had like cross stitch around it. And then the real kicker was this one, a tote bag with this beautiful pattern on it. So pretty. So I hope they were able to raise enough money to support this family, because I feel like these stitched items are just so generous. And it also has given me an idea. I would like to do some kind of fundraiser where I give away stitched items as well. Probably for, you know, my, either for Heal Palestine or maybe for my local trans support group, Brave Space Alliance. You know, leading up to Pride, I might do something for that. So I would like to be able to share some stitched items too, to folks who donate. So we'll see how that goes. But that was, so I never win anything, so that was really exciting. And those items are beautifully, like, just so pretty. I couldn't believe I won it. So thank you for the folks running that raffle, and I really hope things are going okay for that family. And then there's another thank you to someone. Oh, my sister. So we exchange Christmas presents in my family. Even though it's not really our holiday, we get together and do presents. And my sister this year Googled what to get someone who cross stitches. And the suggestion was to pick up items from Sajou, from the Sajou shop in France. So that's what she did. So she got me a little box with all sorts of stuff. She got me these 4 flosses. Which I think would look really pretty, like all stitched on one piece. So I'm thinking about maybe like an ink circles or something where I can change out the colors. I'm gonna have to think about that, but that's so pretty. And I love that navy blue like that. That's so pretty, so nice. And then she got me a pair of scissors. And these floss cards, these like decorative floss cards. And then a huge pack of all different types of needles. I have to show you this one too. I think she knew, my sister knew that she did a good job, because I opened it up and I was shocked to see all this stuff. All these needles. So some are more like embroidery needles and some are more like tapestry needles. So, which is good because I've started doing some embroidery. So I needed both of those. So I'll have to give her another squeeze the next time I see her. And I'm trying to find think of what piece would be a good one to use these flosses on. So, okay, so, yeah, so thank you to folks who do that. And then, oh no, I have one more finish to tell you, to show you from December that I didn't show you. So, and it kind of goes along with Stitchy Kindness as well. They're tied together. Do you remember in my last Flosstube video that I thanked Anna, my friend Anna Aguayo, who's Peruvian flair? She's a cross-stitch designer. And she sent me for I had my 4th Flosstube anniversary back in October. So she had sent me this really sweet little care package, just as like a congratulations on your 4th anniversary. And it was the best thing because it was all these thrifted. She's a genius at thrifting. And the one of the most fun items in there was a set of 2 linen napkins that were so nice to stitch on. They were really like the sizing was perfect. I didn't actually measure it out, but it felt like a 36 count or a 37 count. And I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stitch on one of these and send it back to her stitched, and then I'm going to keep one to stitch for myself. So the napkin, let me see if I have the spare. Hold on a sec. Do I have the other one? I don't have it handy, but it was kind of a very pale peachy pink color. And it was folded into quadrants. It was a pretty good size piece of linen. And it had been folded into 4, so I stitched something on each of the 4 quadrants. So I'll put up pictures here of what I did. So one, let me think. Okay, on one side, you're going to see 2 rectangular patterns that are actually stitched together, right? One beside the other. Those are from Elizabeth's Designs, and I can't remember which is which, but one is like a spring sampler and one is like an Easter sampler. And they're actually 2 separate patterns, but I put them together. I used the same, it's a Cosmo green that I used on there. And then I accented with the same purple that I used on my Put a Bird, no, not Put a Bird on it. What was the last one? The 1 Dozen Quaker style. You know, I stitched on a yellow tote bag with a purple floss. Sometimes when I'm stitching new patterns, I will kit them up from this bag. So like whenever I finish a project or whenever I dekitted a bunch of projects back in December, before organizing all the dekitted floss or the floss that's done from a project, I'll just throw it in a big Ziploc bag, and eventually little by little I'll kind of line that up and put it back into my storage. But in the meantime, I use from that bag to like pick out colors for my new starts. So that's what I did here. That green I had used on something else, and then that purple I had just used on Bake Me a Quaker. So those 2 went into this. These 2 patterns are really fun. That Elizabeth's Designs has a series of small, tiny samplers like that. And actually, when Maryam sent me that Stitchy Kindness project bag, she had put a pattern in there, and it was another one in that series. And she didn't even know I was stitching on those. So those are really fun, and I'd like to restitch that for me. That was really enjoyable stitch to work on. Okay, then another one I did was on another quadrant. Let me think. In the care package from Anna, she had sent me a teeny tiny kit with beautiful violas. You stitch like a little bouquet of violas. And so from that kit, it had pretty floss colors in it because, you know, violas are beautiful. There are different shades of purple, yellow, and then a little green for the greenery. And so I took those flosses and I stitched just one of the violas. But then I used, from Rosewood Manor, there's a medallions pattern. I actually made something with it that I showed you in my last video. It's a long banner with all different types of medallions stitched, like charted. And they're really, truly all different types. Like some are more rounded and squared, like traditional medallions. Some are long and skinny. Some are diagonal. Some are pyramid shaped or like triangle, everything. You've got every kind of possible shape and every different technique too. So there are some of them that are back stitched, some are negative stitching, some are kind of more Quakery looking. It's just a nice library of medallions. So I used that same floss from the violas from that kit, and I just made some medallions to fill out that space. So that was another really fun one to do. I like that medallions pattern is really handy. It's like a little, almost like a little book of motifs that you can easily use to fill in spaces. So that was good. Okay, and then on another quadrant, I stitched from Emily Call Stitching a pattern called I Am Brave. And for that one, I just chose like a coral tone, dark coral toned floss because I was kind of going for like color on color, bright coral on top of like a pale, pale, pale peachy coral fabric. And then on the last quadrant, I did Ink Circle's small pattern, and that one was called Drum Roll. And I got that back when, it's been a few years now. A couple years ago, I was in Ink Circle's Patreon, and she does kind of a free pattern each month. So that was one of those. And I finally got to use floss from Knitting Nurse Jasmine, which was from the 2024 Stitch for Pride. It was the called for floss on that. And I ended up going with my own. You'll see it later because I worked on it, but I went with my own floss and fabric combo on that. I didn't use, even though I ordered the called for, I didn't use it. So I've been trying to find ways to use that Knitting Nurse yarns floss. It's really great. So this is the first time I used it. And that colorway, it's the Yishai Garbas colorway. It's awesome. I would order a whole hank of it. It's so pretty. Okay, I think that's all that was. And if you check out Anna's Instagram page, so I sent it to Anna over the holidays, and then she actually fully finished all 4 of those quadrants. So like the Elizabeth's design, the green and purple piece, she framed in a beautiful little golden frame. It looks so nice. And then she did kind of like some hem stitching around one or two of them, and made almost like a little cocktail napkin looking finished piece. She had a little video where she showed what she did with them. They look so pretty. So I'm glad you enjoyed them, Anna. They were really fun to make too, and I definitely appreciate your kindness and your friendship too. Okay. Okay, I think we're caught up to December, everybody. So now we can actually talk about January. So I had been trying to do this challenge for my personal challenge for myself, and along with my friend Alicia, who is Resist Stitch, and we were trying to choose whips that have been sitting in our whips for a long time that we'd really like to see displayed in our homes, and make an effort to work on those, like really spend time with them this year. So the hashtag for this is the Get Out of My Whips and Onto My Walls sale. And I have 10 pieces that I picked out that I wanted to be my focus pieces for this year. Technically, I wanted to work on only those pieces until they were all finished. But of course, I've broken it. This month, I broke it. For January and February, I stayed really strong. In March, after we had a retreat earlier this month, and then I was just starting things. So, but I will say I had 3 finishes. So 3 of my 10 projects are now done. So let's take a look at those. Okay, so first up is, actually this is going to be a surprise because I know a lot of people are working on this right now. Do you recognize this piece? So this is Put a Bird on It by Modern Folk Embroidery. It's the current Stitch Along hosted by EJ from the Sunshine Stitchers. So I know tons of folks are working on this right now. And I finished it. It's done. I finished it like early January, I think, is when I finished. Or maybe sometime in January, I can't remember. So this is 1/1 on a 27 count Linda fabric. And it's just flosses from Stash. I kitted this up actually back in October. And so I was inspired by colors, fall colors, when I kitted it up. And it was really good fun to do, and so easy. It's stitched up really fast and really easy on this 27 count, and it's got kind of the perfect coverage. Sometimes I've tried, 28 count fabric. I know that's more common to find, but when I'm using just regular cotton floss on it, I find that it gets a little bunched up. It's too tight. Sometimes it depends on the 28 count fabric, but this 27 count is perfect. Perfect coverage. Really easy, even if there's like bits like the bottom of this bird, there are a lot of stitches in there. Really easy to do. Needle moves through nicely. So I'm really enjoying this 27 count Linda, and it makes the project nice and small too. So this is going to be very easy to frame. In fact, I have some items I think I can even frame this on that are just like my thrift store, from my thrift store stash. So we will see. Maybe I'll have a fully finished item by the time I see you next on that one. So that again was, it's Put a Bird on It, and it's by Modern Folk Embroidery. And it has an alphabet that you stitch in it, but instead I actually put the phrase put, and then bird is right here, and then on it is down there. So yeah, enjoyed that one a lot, and I can't wait to frame it and put it up. It's going on the wall. Okay, next up is a pattern by DecoElian, who is a designer on Etsy, but this pattern comes from the January 2023 World of Cross Stitching magazine, and it's called Palestinian Patterns. And it was kind of an introduction. It had a little write-up. It had a nice article and a pattern. So it was an introduction to what the different motifs mean. So like this is the Star of Bethlehem. These are cypress trees, for example. These are feathers, I think. That's a feather pattern. So the kind of the symbolism, what the different things mean. And this is part of it. So this is done. And I love it. It looks really great, right? It's very striking, I think. And I'm using kind of unconventional shades of the usual Palestinian flag, so which is like red, white, and green. So I used kind of a pinky red, a brown red for instead of a traditional red, and then sort of a bright deep green, and then a bright lighter green for the greens instead of just like a basic green. And then I have some accented areas with black in there as well. So I'm using the same color palette for a huge, this is part of a huge piece actually, where I'm stitching lots of patterns by Palestinian designers. So this one was DecoElian. This one is Lina's Thobe. Same colors. I'm just using patterns by a different designer. This up here is by Tirazane Initiative. And folks who are members in the Embroiderers Guild of America, there's an not an article, but they're referenced. Let me think how it went. They did a write-up on resources for cross-stitch patterns, free cross-stitch patterns, and they put Tirazane Initiative, they included on that. This is by Hib Stitches. It's not, this is not a Palestinian designer, but this was a fundraiser pattern for Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. And then you can barely see it because I barely started it, but down here there's a pattern by Min Amani Designs. And so it's coming along. I mean, this huge piece is done now. So here's the pickle that I'm in, is that I'd like to keep coming back to this piece and keep working on it, but it's not, none of these other pieces are on my list of 10 that I was going to choose as a focus piece. So that's why I think I might break my list of 10 a little bit, because I do want to come back at least probably once a month and do a little bit on this pattern as well. I think it's realistic for me to finish this Lina's Thobe pattern next. Plus I have more of her patterns I want to do too, so I want to finish one before I start the next one. So definitely hope to be coming back on this. This is a 20 count hot chocolate by Be Stitch Me. It's it's one of my favorite neutrals. It is beige, but I know from your point of view, you can barely see it, I think. Just very subtle, like tonal shifts in the fabric. So I'm using 2 strands of DMC on it. So it's a little tapestry-like. It's definitely turning kind of thick. So if you look real close, but it was fine. It wasn't too tight to have to put these stitches in. There's a lot of give still, even using 2 strands. Okay, so that's another one done on my list. And then the third one I finished at, what do you think? In the beginning of the month, I went to a retreat. My chapter of the Embroiderers Guild of America is the Windy City chapter, and they do a retreat every March, beginning of March. So I was there and I worked on and finished. Where is it? Let me figure out which way. It goes this way. Do you recognize this one? It's Dado Portraits in Paris by Shaded Stitchery, and it's based on the poster series by W.E.B. Du Bois, showing graphs that represent life for African Americans in the U.S. in the early 1900s. And so it was based on his graphs that he had created in those posters. Nuri created all these motifs based on those. So this was really, really wonderful to stitch. There were a lot of color changes, but the graphicness of it is so striking, and it's very meaningful too. And let me think. This is a fabric I'm not 100% sure of what it is, because I thought I had ordered Winter Wren from a local needlework shop, and then this came and I stitched on it, and then later on I've actually seen Fox and Rabbit Winter Wren. I've actually seen a piece of Winter Wren, and it does not look like this. So I'm wondering if this got mislabeled. It could be seaweed, because it's got kind of a greenish brown tone to it. But don't all of these colors look fantastic on it? Like black looks equally as good as any of these pale, like white or pale tones. So it's a really good neutral, I think, this one. I think it's seaweed. If you think it's something else, let me know, because I haven't been able to identify it. So, yeah, another one done. This one too, it'll be fun to frame that one. I'm toying around with maybe stitching his name across the side of it, so we'll see. We'll see about that. And then this fabric, I have a little bit left. I'm making kind of a someday starts list. So to try to help me not start every single thing on my mind, I'm putting things in a list and trying to be patient about some of them. I have started some things, but not all of them. So on this one, I thought it's sticking with shaded stitchery. She's got a black monochromatic piece. That's, I think it's the Queen of Sorrows, Queen of something in Sorrows. And it's supposed to be a tribute to the Bridgerton spinoff that is dedicated to Queen Charlotte when she was younger. And that one, because this black, these black tones look so good on this, I thought maybe that would be a nice way to use the rest of this fabric for that pattern. So that's a someday. We'll see if that works out or not, but I have a little bit of fabric to play with on this piece. So okay, so that's 3 projects done, which I'm actually pretty happy with. I wasn't sure how long it would take me to finish some things. Now, some of the other projects I have, these I had made a lot of progress on anyway before they showed up in my list. My other projects, not so much, but they're getting there. So let me show you, hang on a sec, what do I have? Oh, I have a few more finishes I'll show you first, some smaller ones, and then I'll show you some of the whips from my list of 10 that I've still been working on. Okay, so this one was a little fundraiser pattern by, I think it's pronounced Raffle on Etsy. I'll link them below. They just recently, and it might still be going on, are doing a fundraiser for Heal Palestine, and so they charted out the logo for Heal. So it's a teeny tiny thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. Anybody have any suggestions? I got into my usual trouble of starting too close to the edge, so I'm gonna have to be thoughtful about what I do with this, but yeah, this is a quick, like a weekend stitch for this one. So I'll link them below if you want to, I think the pattern is $10 and all the proceeds go to Heal Palestine. So, good way to support kiddos who need our help. And then, at that retreat, my guild retreat earlier this, month, lost my train of thought. Let me think a second. Oh, they do a stash sale. So people can bring their stash and sell items, and the guild takes a little bit of the profits and you get a little bit of the profits, or you can just donate items. If you want to just give up items, they become part of a stash sale, and then the guild earns money for that. And our guild makes like $500 on that. They make a good sale. There's all kinds of stuff. There's yarn and everything. I'm trying not to buy yarn until I finish my current yarn stash, but I did pick up some books, a lot of magazines, so just some thread for sort, like I don't have just sewing thread, so I picked up some of that. And then anything else? I think that's it. But one of the things I picked up was this book on Florentine embroidery, and so it's got a lot of Bargello stitching in it. And so let me see if I can find a picture of one. Everybody's seen I think you've probably seen Bargello before, but it's got like these kind of wavy patterns. It's a type of needlepoint where you're sort of stitching these rows of patterns. The stitches are always like kind of up and down. You go up and down for them. They're just lines, but they make these sort of wavy patterns. And I've been curious about it, so I went ahead and tried a little bit. So I have these, when I was cleaning out my stash back in December, I found these guys. I think I probably got them at Michael's or Joann, one of the big box craft stores. And so they have a grid. It's it's plywood. It's very cheap. It breaks it like, I don't know if you can see, but the top of this already broke. Just working with it. And it does have, you can cross stitch on it or you can do a needlepoint on it like this. And so I used some of my one-off skeins of just embroidery flosses. So these are all 6 strands. And you can tell probably I need to use more of like a wool yarn for crewel work or something like that. Because ideally when you do Bargello, you're not seeing the grid behind it. So this thread that I used is not thick enough. But I got a feel for some of the patterns, and that was kind of fun to try. So this was I made a mini sampler of just different things from the book. So like this is a basic pattern from the book. And then some of these I sort of made up too. Like this mountainous one here, I just kind of made up myself. So that's pretty fun. I would definitely do a little bit more Bargello. I have to think of what I'll probably just put this on display back here somewhere because it's with really nice flosses, so I don't want to use it as a coaster. But I know I can hear the Maryams and the Catherines of the world saying, don't be precious about your stuff, just use it. So maybe I will use it as a coaster. I don't know. But for right now, it'll go right over here. Or maybe I'll put it somewhere. But that was fun to do, and I would try. I want to try a little bit more Bargello sometime soon. Okay. Have I shown you all my finishes? Oh, no. No, I have a big one to show you, actually. Okay, so back in February, I had been, actually January and February. So we had another long story here. Okay, longish story. My library, I love my public library. They run all sorts of programs. We do a lot of like talks and events with that. We do all the programs. And they were doing an adult reading challenge in February just to get people off their phones and reading a little bit more. So that was going to happen all through February, and I joined in on that. It was just basically read 20 minutes a day, like 20 minutes when you would normally do something else, like scrolling or something else, give up that 20 minutes and read a day. And so to get match fit for that, I started in January, and one of the books I really wanted to read this year was Let's Move the Needle by Shannon Downey, and she goes by Badass Cross Stitch. She's on Instagram. She's on everything. You can find her. She's got her own website too. This book is awesome. It is so inspiring. It gives you tons of hope. It makes you feel capable of doing things. It makes community connection possible. Like everything. It's if you are feeling debilitated by the state of things, this will shake you out a bit. So I 100% recommend this. I got this there's a new needlework store in Chicago called Maydell. So I got mine through them, supporting a local shop. You can get yours through bookshop.org too, I'm sure. And so I've marked a bunch of stuff in here, but I wanted to write, I told a friend of mine at the Guild who writes our chapter newsletter, I said, I'm going to read this book and I'll write a little review for our chapter newsletter. And so I kind of wanted to get the full experience of Shannon Downey's, like everything she has to offer. I actually heard her speak at the Chicago Humanities Festival. As part of that festival, they have a lot of writers come and give talks, and you can get tickets and attend. And so I heard her speak. She was very inspiring then too. She spoke right before the election, and she's very motivating, and you leave feeling good, like things are possible when you chat with her. And so I got the book, and so I was reading it in January. Now she does these monthly community building embroidery classes. So if you've never done embroidery before, which had been me, I've only cross-stitched before, she walks you, it's very beginner. So it's like someone who's never picked up a needle or floss before will learn all the basics. You sign up for her Zoom. It's a pay what you can system. So if all you can pay is $1, you pay $1. If you can pay, I can pay more, so I paid way more. And everybody joins in, and then it's an hour and a half session full of her usual kind of inspiring, empowering kind of chat. You just leave feeling so good after hanging out with her. And she gives an overview of everything. And actually, as a seasoned cross-stitcher, I did pick up some interesting tips from her. So I would recommend, even if a lot of it was basic, and like needle knowledge and floss knowledge and things like that, I still picked up some things. I was glad. It was kind of like tuning into a floss tube on embroidery. So that was really great. And then almost the first hour and 10 minutes is like materials, talk about materials and what the possibilities are with embroidery. She does a lot of kind of social justice minded embroidery, and it's all in her book. Like, for example, I won't show you all of it. You know, you should get the book to see this, but I'll show you maybe one. Like this one, she embroidered, "We must fundamentally reimagine everything." So this book is just filled with all of her just kind of really cool little messages that she's embroidered, and she teaches people how to do that. So really the last 15 to 20 minutes is when you put your first stitch in, and it's just like a basic kind of a back stitch sort of thing. And you feel so good after attending that session. Like, I felt like, oh, okay, this is what embroidery is about. She encourages you to find a phrase, a word, just a word, start easy, and draw it in pencil on your fabric. So she had sent us a list of what to have ready, what materials to have ready before joining the Zoom. And one of the nice things is she said, you don't need to run out and buy fabric. Look through your rags, look through your giveaway pile, your donation pile, look through, just like find your oldest pillowcase or sheet, which I had. And she's like, just use that. Just use that. And because you're just going to do practice stitches. So just do that. And then she said, when we finally got towards the end of the Zoom where we were really creating, she said, use a pencil and just write a word. Write a word that is meaningful to you right now. And then she taught us how to do the back stitch over it. And so I'll show you my whole piece. So the word I chose was listen, because I feel like my head is crowded with a lot of thoughts and I need to be more deliberate about listening. And so during the Zoom, all that I did was just word listen. That's it. But after leaving that Zoom, I thought, oh, okay, this is how embroidery works. I just looked up tutorials, stitch guides, and I decided to fill up the whole rest of the space just with my own. This is completely free form. This is not from a pattern. And the listen was just my freehand as well. None of this was charted out or patterned. I know with embroidery, if you're not feeling like, I've doodled a lot back in my watercolor days. I doodled a lot because that's a thing you can do with watercolor. Like, you do ink doodles and then do washes over them. So like folks who have ever done like Zentangles and things like that, if you've practiced doodling, you can do it with practice. If you don't feel confident doodling, you can get patterns, like free embroidery patterns that you can just trace onto fabric. But I freeformed this buddy, and I decided to just look up all different types of stitches. So like this long green stem and leaf here is stem stitch. There's some herringbone stitch in there. The center of this flower is chain stitched. I did a little bit of couching. That was really cool. You like do these couched stitches and then you weave other stitches in between them. More stem stitch there, more chain stitch. Just all different types. I just tried to find... I really love French knots now. They're really easy to do. So I put some French knots in there. I found a really good tutorial. It's Penguin and Fish has a great tutorial on how to do French knots. So like on my first try, I got it. And I'm like, what? Why have I been avoiding this all this time? So I put those in everywhere too. They were fun to do. And then, yeah, so this was really fun. It ended up being just like a little sampler of different types of stitches. And it's on an old pillowcase, so it looks kind of dingy, but again, these colors came from my bag of floss, my bag of unorganized floss. And I just kind of threw some together, and it was really fun. This was like a weekend. I mean, so here's what, as a cross-stitcher who now does some embroidery, here are my observations. It's really easy to learn. You need a different type of needle. You need, it was easier to do with a sharper needle, like a crewel or embroidery needle. It's really hard to thread that needle. I have a heck of a time. I used 3 strands on this because that's what Shannon had recommended during that Zoom for our first, for doing the word. I think she often uses 1 strand and does finer lines, but I just went with 3. And it helped to have a sharp needle and a hoop. I had to use a hoop on this, which I had from at work, someone had gifted me an embroidery kit, so I had the hoop from that, so I was able to use that. You need the tension, I think, to do it. And embroidery is much faster than cross stitch. So like an entire finished piece like this was like a weekend project for me, less than a weekend to do this. I could never finish a whole cross stitch piece like this in a weekend. I think this would be like a week-long cross stitch project. So that's the big difference, is that it does work up quicker. So there are going to be times I think I'm going to turn to embroidery to try some things. For example, for Freedom Oklahoma, they want people to create crafted items, photograph them, and send them as love letters to trans folks. So I made this one. This is embroidery. And it's probably not, it's not, someone who really knows embroidery might do a nicer job. But the main thing is I wanted a message on it, so I put "You Are Loved," and then I put some just little patterns on it. I used the what is it called? Like a stitch remover, that thing? I used that to poke holes. I took some bubble wrap, folded it up, and then put it underneath this card, and then I used that stitch remover to poke holes. So you can do you see how there are holes? My camera won't be super clear, I think, but I poked holes so I had an idea of what kind of shapes I wanted to do, and then my needle could go easily through those holes. Same thing with this border. I poked holes all around, and so that I wouldn't poke into my skin, I used bubble wrap underneath so it would poke into that bubble wrap. I bet if you had like a pile of fabric or maybe towels, you could like lay it on top of towels or something and poke through it that way. So this is on a piece of cardboard, or like, it's one of those comic book boards, I cut that up. And so I photographed and wrote a little letter to send to Freedom, Oklahoma. They're collecting messages of love ahead of Trans Day of Visibility. And then I sent this to my guild, Chapter 2, a group email. And I just said, hey, they're doing this. Look at this tiny thing I did. You might want to do something too. So I know a couple people from the guild are doing that as well. But this was a morning. I could do this in a morning. I could never do a small cross stitch. Like, it would take me a whole day to do something like this. So there are going to be times where embroidery is going to be my go-to, I think. That's what I've learned. And it's really easy to learn. If you're comfortable with a needle and fabric, you can learn it. It's really easy to learn. And definitely sign up for the workshop through Badass Cross Stitch, Shannon Downey. She's just a delight. And I went ahead and joined her Patreon as well. I belong to 2 Patreons now. One is Shannon's. It's only $2 a month. And she does something great. She has engaging speakers who she talks to once a month or so. Like, she just put out a video. She interviewed, I think his name is Christian Picciolini. He's a former white supremacist. He got recruited into that movement when he was a teenager. And now as an adult, he talks about how he got out of it and how he how he helps other people get out of that movement. So moving. It was very, everything comes back to communication and compassion. And he talks a lot about that. And that interview was on Shannon's Patreon page. So I joined that Patreon. I'm really glad I did. She's building a wonderful community there. She does book clubs through that. She has done stitch tutorials too on there. So it's a really great Patreon to join. The other one I joined, just for your own information, I've been a member for a little bit now, is Aja Barber's Patreon. And I'm rereading her book, Consumed, which was a life changer for me. She talks about how we overconsume and how, if we want to be better humans on this planet, we gotta make use of the things we have and stop overconsuming everything. And I'm definitely guilty of that too. So this has been a good reminder reading that. And I joined her Patreon because I'm just curious to see what she has to say about it. She's very knowledgeable about it, and I want to know more. So those have both been good Patreons to join. I recommend them. And I recommend the books as well. Okay, those are all. Can you believe we're still on finishes? And I think this is 40 minutes we've been on this. So, okay, let's get a move on. Let me show you some whips. Actually, I want to organize them real quick. I'll be right back. We'll talk whips. Okay, so my 10 focus pieces. I have been working on more of those, believe it or not. I did start some new things, but I've also been working on these. Okay, so one of them is Stitch for Pride 2024. And that is coming along great. So I'm doing it as a monochromatic. Let me open this up a little bit more. Here we go. So I am doing this as a monochromatic pattern. Well, kind of monochromatic. The patterns these were all the monthly installments dedicated to artists from the 2S LGBTQIA community. And I'm trying to also stitch in the names of the artists. So I just started doing that. Those are in a complementary color. This is on a 36 count fall prelude. I think that's what it's called, by Autumn Air. No, what are they called? Mountain Air fabric. And it's kind of a kooky fabric. It's like a purpley gray base, but then it has these like splotches of oranges and pinks and yellows. And I just thought, well, what's super contrasting with that? And I thought this bright blue would go great. So that's what I'm using, and it's like you can see all the patterns really easily on it. So I have officially now started all of the 12 installments. They're not all done, of course. Robert Indiana is done, Lahuahuakea is done, and I think that's it. Everything else I've just started. But I've gotten into every single bit. So this has been really enjoyable to work on. What I did last weekend is I took something that I like to do is, like, I finished a skein of this blue, so I needed to start a new skein. So I just went ahead and took the skein apart. So I cut it into like 10-inch snippets. I separated out the 2 strands by 2 strands by 2 strands, and I just lay them all out on the back of my couch behind me. And then I like to just work. I work the whole skein. I try to use up everything from the skein. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm kind of working my way through this. I don't know if I'm going to need yet one more skein or if this will be it. If I can finish it out with the current skein I'm working on, we will see. That will be an experiment. But I'm really enjoying working on this one. I actually can't wait. One of my, in my little list I'm keeping of my someday starts, I definitely want to start the 2025 Stitch for Pride, which is all based on historical figures in the 2S LGBTQIA community. It's been looking awesome so far. I have it kitted up. It's ready. I'm going to finish this first. So hopefully by the next time, in the next 3 months, I'm going to be able to finish this one. I really hope so. Okay. And then next up, I did put in a few stitches into my Squirrels of Sumatra piece. You've seen this one before. It is on an 18 count Mystic by Picture This Plus, and it's using a sulky, I think the color is called Butterscotch. I can't remember now. It's a variegated yellow. And this was the one, it's my Lemons piece that I got advice on from Sarah, Julie, and Maryam, because there's like a huge mistake in here. So it's all going to be uneven now. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to proceed and stitch it. It'll be a little choppy looking, but it's okay. The bit that I worked on this month was over here on these side borders. So I finished out this border and this one, and then these 2 down here. And I got a little bit of work done starting these other ones here. So I'll just keep chipping away at this one. I mean, this I should be able to finish this year. If I can spend, like, I don't know, a couple days a month working on it, I should be able to finish that one. I've been staying away from the problem area. I'm worried that I will start a motif and then I won't be able to finish it because it'll run into something else, because the counts are way off all in here. So I'm just gonna have to tackle it. I think I just need to get to it and do it and get past it. Okay, and then another whip from my list of 10 is Baldequin Birdies, which is the current Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along. And I did put some stitches into that as well. So here's how it's looking so far. And the part I worked on is this piece, this like kind of chandelier thing that's hanging here. And it's coming along. What I did for this is in my chapter of the Guild, the Windy City chapter, every January we set up a challenge piece. So it's optional, but members pick a piece that they want to work on, that they consider their challenge piece. It might be a huge piece, or a piece that has difficult stitches, or a piece that you've barely started and just can't get to finish and you want to try to finish it. Whatever your reason is, your own. But you show it to everybody as your challenge piece. It's a huge meeting. They do our guild has virtual meetings, so this is one. The January meeting is traditionally a very popular virtual one because the weather is usually really bad or cold, and everybody tunes in from home, and then it's basically like a group whip parade because everybody just shows their challenge piece they want to work on, and it's fun. It's a fun meeting. So I chose this one as my challenge piece. I think I can finish it. The idea is that you have until from this January to next January to finish it, and if you finish it, you get put into a raffle to win like your fees, a membership to the EGA for the next year. So it's kind of a nice small incentive, but a nice incentive, and we'll see how this goes. I'm doing this on a raw natural linen. This is one of my favorite Cosmo greens, which these Cosmo greens I just kind of pepper into everything these days. And then these are two different silks for you, actually. One, I don't remember the numbers. One is a more purpley pink, like a mauve color. And that's the same as this one here. It's got shades of that bright pink in it as well, so that's all that same color. And then the other one that I'm using for the berries and the birds is a brighter pink. So you can see it's a little bit brighter to more of like a cherry pink. So that's a 36 count raw natural linen, and I'm using 2 strands over that one. So I really just need to work on it. I needed to keep taking it out and work on it. So I think I want to finish my Stitch for Pride first, and then hopefully this next 3 months I will make some progress on this one. It's not a huge pattern. I think that pattern had, you know, for people who want to do the monthly installments in it, am I right that it only had 10 parts to it, I think? It's meant to be doable in a year, so we'll see. Okay, then the last bits I'm going to show you are some new starts. I had some. I tried really, really hard not to start anything new, and I gave in this month. So one of them is, you know, since I've been doing some embroidery, our guild chat, I missed the meeting, but our guild did a tutorial on crazy quilting, which is where you patch pieces of fabric together and then you embroider stitches over it, and you create this kind of like haphazard sort of like tapestry of stitches and fabrics put together. So I've been playing around with it. I missed the meeting where they did the instruction on this, so I just played around with it using tutorials on YouTube. And so here's what I've got so far. So what did I do? I cut out a piece of felt, and now I've been getting my felt from this new shop in Chicago, Maydell, because she carries wool felt. So it's a natural fiber felt. She also carries a felt that's made from recycled plastic. You know, the felt that you get from the big box stores. I know if that's the only shop you have, I know you choose it, but the big box felts are polyester. Usually they're not natural fibers. So now I get them from Maydell when I can. So this is a wool felt. I cut it out in the shape of a bookmark. And then these fabrics I got two at that Guild stash resale. I was able to get 2 packs of like quilting fabrics for just $2 a piece. So I just thought, oh, we're gonna be doing crazy quilting soon. Let me get some fabrics. And so I just kind of snipped up a few pieces, and the tutorial that I was using is from a slow stitching channel on YouTube called Jo Mo, J-O space M-O, and she's got some really nice kind of step-by-step tutorials on what to do with slow stitching and crazy quilting. And so I used her tutorial. My only issue, and I would try to do this differently, I will definitely do it again, I'll try it again, is that she recommends using pins to pin down your fabrics, but I don't know if you'll notice, the fabrics are not seamed. So normally you would take like 2 pieces of fabric, lay them back to back, and then seam them, and then fold and iron it so that you can't see the seam, and then you don't have frayed edges. So she didn't do that in her tutorial. She just laid out the fabrics, and they're fraying all over the piece, and it drives me crazy. So I probably won't do this technique again because I don't like all the fabric fraying all over everything. But I love doing the embroidery stitches over it. So like here there's a little bit of running stitch, which is just like in all the gaps you just put in these tiny stitches. There's a little bit of back stitch in here. I did these little teeny tiny spots of stitches on here. More kind of running, what is this, back stitching. I did these little kind of plant looking things here, and then here I cut out, this is upside down, I cut out a motif from one of these like the leftover pieces of one of these fabrics, and then I stitched all around. I did applique around it. So yeah, I put French knots in all around there. The embroidery bit is super fun. It's very relaxing. You're okay with not having a plan. It's very spontaneous, and I enjoy that a lot. What I will do differently is how I piece the fabrics together. I'll do that differently next time. But the rest is really, really fun to do. I enjoyed that. And I will use it. I'm not finished with it yet. I haven't put a backing on it yet, so you can see all my stitching on the back. So what I need to do is cut another piece of fabric and just finish it here. And then I'll probably do I need to learn how to do a blanket stitch, and I'll put that all around to seal it up. but you can see how the edges are all kind of fraying. That's what's happening on between all of these pieces too. But still fun to do. Okay, new starts. I was at a retreat yesterday. Maryam and I went to Beautiful Stitchery, which is a newish local needlework shop just north of Rockford, Illinois. So it's about an hour and a half for us to get there. And they did a post-market retreat. So you could go up there, pick up your market orders. They had more stuff on sale, fabrics and things, and then you just sit together. You sit together and stitch. So one of my market orders was this bisque. I really want to learn how to make a biscornu. So I'm going to try it with this one. This is by Giulia Puntiantichi. That's the name of the designer right there. And it's called Le Biscornu en Rose. And it's charted for pink and purple. And I don't know if you can see it, but the seaming between the pieces here has beading on it, which these will all be good challenges for me, I think. So I just started stitching it, and I'm using colors from Stash and not doing the exact same called for colors, but I am using pink. Instead of purple, I'm using brown. So here's what I've got so far. I don't know if you're able to see the difference, but I'm using a dark pink and then a lighter bright pink and then this brown. So it's coming along. It'll I'll have to do the 2 squares, and then it has full instructions for the assembly, so I'll take my time and do that too. So that was fun to start up. And then yesterday, I started one other thing while I was at the retreat, the kind of day-long retreat, or stitch-in, or I'm not sure what we called yesterday, but it was a good time. My other market I picked up a few things at market, but one of them was Michelle Bendy Stitchy, her worthy bird, and she's got a quote on it. It says, "I am the measure of my worth, and I say I am worthy." Anyone else in the room have self-esteem issues sometimes, like me? This is very empowering to stitch, I know. It feels good to stitch it. So both Maryam and I each got a piece, just a 1/8 of a yard piece of this beautiful black cauldron fabric, and the fabric dyer's black cauldron, and this colorway is birthday cake. So it's got all these very pretty splotches. It's got yellow on it, which I love. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. And we just kept staring at it the whole time, so I just said, let's just each get an 1/8 of it already and do something with it. So I'm putting Worthy Bird on it. So I started this just last night. I have the first part of the quote. You can see a little bird face coming in, and then some of the feathers and the branch that the bird is sitting on. This should be pretty quick. I may just try to finish this this week, make it a week-long finish, and then go back to my whips. Okay, I have one other new start, which was from, I had said during my Guild Restash sale, I had picked up some magazines, and a lot of them are needlepoint magazines, and they have different patterns and things in them. And one of the patterns I saw that looked kind of intriguing was this one called Medallions. And it's by Fingerstep Designs, and it uses a darning stitch, which is basically just straight lines. And I'll show you what I've started so far. This one, set this down. I don't know if how well you'll be able to see it, but so this is on the scrap from my Put a Bird on It. So it's 27 count Linda, and I'm using just one strand of floss. And you just make these straight stitches on it. You're using darning stitches, and you're stitching across. And so it makes sort of almost like a feathery, kind of barely there but not there, sort of shadowy stitch. It's really pretty, actually, but it's just, it's a different kind of challenge to your brain because you're not counting X's on the grid, you're counting spaces in a different way. So it's just interesting. So I like that. I think I should be able to fit, I'm going to see. I think I can fit all 4 medallions on this. We'll see how that goes. And then I may turn that also into like a bookmark or something like that. And then one last one I'm actually really excited to show you. Oh no, I have two. I have two more new starts to show you. And they're both exciting. So I broke down and picked up two fabrics by Banana Oil. I've been watching Maryam stitch with them for ages now, and I've been also watching Danielle, who's gently smiling jaws. If you're not watching Danielle on Flosstube, what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and watch. She's got so many beautiful things she's stitching, and just love her as a human too. And the both of them stitch beautiful pieces on Banana Oil fabrics, and I have one that I've liked on Etsy for a long while. It's been sitting there for months. I finally just said I'm going to do this. So I'll show you the fabric. This is what it looks like. I mean, it's a piece of art by itself. And I thought, what am I going to put on this? Well, I have for a long time been wanting to restitch this little friend here, Chimu Birds by my friend Anna, Peruvian Flair. And so that's what I'm doing. So I used a contrasting fabric. This has red and yellow on it, so I went with another primary color, blue, and just picked a very bright shade. And I am stitching Chimu Birds on it, but the charted pattern is about this size here, a square. My goal is to fill the entire piece of fabric with this. I want to make a huge tapestry with this. So that's the plan. So this has only been just a few nights of stitching and it's already working up so much. And the fantastic part about this pattern is that when you first start it, you don't really understand what the repeat is. But then once you get like about 1.5 inches this way and then about 1.5 inches this way, that's it. You don't need to look at the chart again. You can reference what you've already stitched and just keep going. Keep running with it. It's so easy to follow the repeat. So I'm loving that one. This is a 36 count fabric and I'm using 2 strands. 2 strands of floss on it. So that will be fun. Maybe I'll do like a 1 day a month kind of thing on that, or like a 1 week a month, and just see how that progresses. Okay, now the other, this is my last one to show you. It is, okay, so I want to do what do I want to do? I want to do something in my community to share kind of a resource list on ideas for building community. So I have, since moving to this place, we've been here for 4 years now. We've done a lot with connecting with our neighbors. We have a block WhatsApp group. We share resources on there. We ask for help on there. We do social events on there. And a neighbor and I are trying to see, can we push this now? We have this kind of strong social group with the folks on our block. Can we do even more with this sense of community here? Can we be of help to local organizations like our public library, like our community center, like our community fridge, our local schools? Can we prepare ourselves for if any one of us on the block is in a real pickle, like a real, if they experience a loss of income or food or any kind of resource, can we come together as a community and be helpful to each other? So we're having these conversations on the block, and I'm thinking this is really great to talk about with other blocks as well, with other like mini communities within our town. So I'd like to do something, put together like a resource list on tips on how to build community. And long story short, the key is just to talk to people. Like, be available and talk to people, get to know your neighbors. That's how you build community. And then like show up to community events, like show up to your school when they're doing events, to your neighborhood school. I don't have kids and I don't teach in my neighborhood school, but I'm trying to do things in my local school community. They just had an educational forum I went to, which was awesome. Show up to your library when they do events, show up to your community center and donate food, like whatever you can do. So, I thought, how can I, after reading Let's Move the Needle by Shannon Downey, just talking about building community and how can I connect fiber arts with doing something for my community. So I'm working on putting together a resource sheet on like, if you don't know anybody in your community or anything about your community, how do you start? How do you start building community? And with that resource sheet, I thought I might do some little stitched items and maybe have them available like in a bowl at my local library for anyone who wants to build community. Take this little thing with you, and it has a little stitch thing with it. So I was like, what am I going to stitch? So I asked Maryam, I'm like, Maryam, I have this idea. I want to stitch something that says build community. Do you have time to put together like a little pattern? And I could stitch that. She's like, oh yeah. And of course, like Maryam, she designs all the time. So she's like, yeah. So she made this little pattern that says build community. And so I've been making some different copies of it. These are stray, just random silks that I have that I only have one skein of. So I'm using them up on these. So here's another one. Here's another one. Now, my original idea is I have these wooden, these like, I didn't bring them down here to show you, but I have these pieces, like these wood cross sections. It's almost like branches sliced into these little pieces of wood, and they have keychains attached to them. So my original idea was, oh, I could stitch something, put it on that keychain, and have those keychains available. Well, this beautiful pattern by Maryam, it takes me forever to do it. It takes like a few hours to do it. So I'm like, I don't think I can just give these away. I want to be generous, but I don't want people just taking something that they don't appreciate. You know what I mean? Like, we put a lot of time into this. And I tried smaller ones like this. I tried this one 1/1 on the same I'm using this raw natural linen for all these. These larger ones are 2 strands over 2. The smaller one is 1 strand of a 50 weight rayon sulky over 1. Coverage is nice. It looks great, but it takes forever to do. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I was talking to Maryam about it. She's like, oh, I'll just make a smaller version that will stitch up quicker. So she came up with this little friend here. And these do stitch up a bit quicker. So I think what I'm going to try to do is either make tiny pillows or maybe try them on the keychains, try them on the wooden keychain. I'll try some different things. And the idea is that I'm going to put a tag on it that has a QR code to that list of resources on how to build community. So I would like to really have these made available in my public library or in other public spaces for people to just pick up and see if they, even if they take away one idea from it and it gets people talking, maybe that's a good thing. You know, my students and I actually have conversations about this because we all hear, like, everybody says the thing to do right now is build community. Well, what does that mean? How do you do that? And it's about having conversations and just having, like, building compassion, trying to understand people who are different than us. And if we can encourage even one person to try that, maybe that will make a difference, you know? So I'll keep you posted on these. I think Maryam is going to do something similar. And if you're interested, once I have it ready, I'll share my community building list as well. If you want to either try some of those ideas or share it, if you already have a strong block and you want to try to share it with people, you can do that too. I'm still working on it, but I'll make it available in the notes of this floss tube once I get it ready. Okay, I think that's everything. This has already become a much longer video than I thought it was going to be, but I think I got it all. It's so nice to check in with you. This has been really fun to chat about. I hope you've seen something interesting here. I got a little babbly for some part of it, but hope that's okay. I'm going to go get this edited and continue to work on my Stitch for Pride from last year. And I hope everyone hangs in there and is doing okay. And I hope to chat with you soon. Have a good week.